All right, welcome to another episode of The Catholic Couple, having fun with faith, family, and friends. I'm your co-host, Bobby Fredrickson. With me, as always, my beautiful wife,
Katie Fredrickson.
I'm the convert Catholic, and she's
the cradle Catholic.
And here we are on part 3 of our series on finding Christian truth in secular media. We've already done music, we've done television, and today the finale will be on movies. I will give you 3 movies. I'm going to pull out Christian themes, gospel, Jesus, and then Katie's going to do 3 movies.
Yeah.
And we're going to find out what each other's are, because we didn't tell each other what they are, so there could be some prizes. So hopefully
this is fun.
So hopefully no duplicates. But
I don't think so. I mean, that'd be really weird if it was.
Well, just real quick before we get going, because just in our prayer before we started, the goal of this series is try to help you guys to start to look everywhere,
right,
for God. That God is everywhere, even in things that you don't think that they are. God finds a way, in even things that are trying to mock him, you can see a wink from him.
I think that it's also important to have that lens. If we're always looking through things through the lens of our faith, we can also find teachable moments with our kids. Because with young people, especially, there's always that tie of relevance, especially with teaching, teaching the youths, when I would teach like freshmen, trying to find
I got your movie reference there.
Yeah. So when you try to tie in these components of faith with what's relevant to them in their in the secular, it's kind of like the St. Paul method, right? Like trying to take what is in that regular culture, in the common, the pop culture, in the common everyday lives of people, and trying to attribute, our faith to it in a way that's understandable.
To reach people where they're at.
Right, reaching people where they're at. And I think it's also important to know that, and I think I've said this in the last 2, I don't know, I probably repeat myself a lot, that, it's about the true, the good, and the beautiful, and those are all going to be things that lead us to God.
The transcendentals, yes.
So we can't help it. The truth is written in our hearts, whether we are all made in the image and likeness of God, whether we are a practicing Catholic or away from the faith, or completely not understanding of faith at all, have no faith at all, or of a different religion. The truth is there. The truth is a Bible, and at the center is the truth is a not Bible. The truth is a bullseye. And at the center is Jesus. But that doesn't mean that we don't have glimmers of truth in all of these secular things, because we
and
are
the closer you get to the center, the more truth there are.
That quest for truth, right? So in these secular movies, in these things, we're in the world. We're not of the world, but we're in the world. And so within the world, we should be finding these nuggets. And especially if you have children, you go to a movie to see a secular movie, you can pull Christian truths out of that movie. It doesn't always have to be a religious movie to pull religious truths out of it. And I think that that's kind of the exercise that we're trying to flex a little bit here. Like, how do we take songs that are popular, take ideas that are popular, take movies and TV, because they're all promoting ideologies, they're all promoting ideas that are, ideas or trends that are popular. How do we find the truth in them and reference it?
Yeah, I like your reference to St. Paul, because when you think back to Acts, when Paul was traveling around to all the different people, he said that I became all things to all different men. I became whatever I needed to be at that time for those other people. When he was
just meeting people where they're at, it's not meaning to be fake. That's not.
No, not at all. But when he was like,
I've heard people say that.
No, but when he was in Athens at the, he walked around and saw all these gods, and then he saw this one plaque to the unknown God. He said, "Oh, the unknown God, that's our God."
I know.
Like that's
I know that
one. So he found a way from what they already had to try to lead that into something about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So so that's what I'm saying, is that we shouldn't be watching things that are really bad,
right?
And things
your
like that.
Intake, effects are outpouring.
Garbage in, garbage
in, garbage out. But secular silly movies, or the things that we're going to reference today, there's nothing.
Yours are silly?
Boy,
all right. Well, let's not leave the people on pins and needles here. So what's your first one?
Oh, you want me to go first?
Ladies
I think
first.
I have gone first in the last 2 episodes, correct?
Yes, ladies first.
Well, I want to flip it up a little bit.
You
here.
want to defer to me? Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
go ahead. I think you should go first. I'm
All right.
excited.
Well, since you said even going to movies with kids, this is kind of an easy one.
Oh, I
It's a
hope you
kids
didn't take
movie.
mine.
The Lion King.
Oh, the Lion King.
The Lion King. So from 1994.
No, okay, that's what I was going to say. Not the live action. You're talking about the original.
I'm talking about the original, but at most, I bet you everybody who's watching and listening has seen The Lion King.
Yeah, I love The Lion King.
Yeah, so some of the themes, that first, jumped out at me. The whole story is the prodigal son. The whole story of Simba. He takes off. He goes in with Timba.
But his dad died.
Yeah, but he's still like
he's running away from his responsibility.
He's running away from his calling. That
yeah,
he takes off his lost identity. That he goes and runs with the warthog and Timba and Pumbaa, right there.
Timon
and
Did
Pumbaa.
it right.
And so he goes kind of like the prodigal son and squanders away while his uncle Scar, who's kind of like that Satan character in this whole thing, the evil brother. That's another motif that we see, the evil brother. That's like the Cain and Abel kind of thing with the wicked uncle and Mufasa, his brother, who was trying to usurp. So we see that all throughout, from Shakespeare to all those different stories. It's that sibling rivalry, that the Cain versus Abel.
Hold on. So while he neglects his responsibilities, his God-given responsibility, evil moves in.
Yeah.
Right.
So
evil takes over
So when you abdicate your power and your responsibility, it just doesn't say empty. Something else always will come in and take that. That evil isn't an entity on its own. It's the lack of the good.
Right.
And it fills that it's like a cavity. It's like a void that comes in. So just to think that, well, that's why when we confess, we confess what I've done and what I failed to do, the sins of omission and the sins of commission. So a lot of times, not doing what we're supposed to do and running from our responsibilities, that's a big part of this whole thing. But we just see he's running, Mufasa dies, but he's still speaking to him throughout the whole thing. Kind of like, that whole scene when
with Rafiki.
Yeah, the whole thing with Rafiki, he's kind of like a prophetic voice, kind of almost like a John.
Yeah, he is like a prophet, actually.
Yeah, he's like
everybody. And you know you did not see Mufasa, did you?
I fell asleep. I watched part of it.
So Mufasa is so good. If the music was gone, because the story is very Christian. If you really watch that is, and now Lion King, I can totally see your undertones, but if you watch Mufasa, wow, it's got some big time Christian undertones in it. But it's almost like the people who did the Mufasa, did the actual story, didn't talk to the people who did the music, because the music is cheesy and, happy clappy, but the story is so real and deep,
dramatic.
It's so, it does not go together. So I found myself really into the story, and then whenever there was a song, I fast forwarded, because it knocked me out of the drama that I was captivated by, and by the story that I was captivated by. It was really beautiful, but the songs were horrible. But anyway, so it ties into what you're saying though, with a lot of the biblical undertones, a lot of that.
Yeah, and just a message
good versus
for us,
evil, and redemption, right? And how a villain's origin stories are usually about,
they start off good.
Yeah, like they have some kind of a resentment or an unforgiveness that they just can't shake.
And
right?
That's the story of Cain and Abel.
Yeah, and that there is this, every villain's story is this. Turning inward on oneself,
they become bitter instead of being better. Then they become resentful.
Right,
then they become vengeful.
Yes,
that's like a slippery slope path.
And that is the Mufasa Scar story, is what the movie Mufasa is. So we see remnants of that in Lion King, but Mufasa unpacks what happened.
Yeah, so he's always reminding Simba, like, you're the rightful king, and every time that we fall away from the church, every time that we sin, we are forfeiting our inheritance, that we are sons of the king. We are literally sons and daughters
Mhm.
of God. And when we trade that in, you know, we always hear the story of Esau trading in his birthright for the porridge, the red stuff, because he was so hungry. He's like, oh, I can't believe he changed, you know, he traded his inheritance. Like,
Yeah.
well, we do that every time we sin.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that reminder that Mufasa says, remember who you are. You are my son, the one true king. God tells us, you know, he tells Jesus,
we are priest, prophet, and king when we're
yes,
baptized.
and then we are baptized with him. We get that same mission.
Yeah.
So that's my first one.
That's a good. I'm so proud of you for doing a Disney movie.
Well, I was trying to impress you just a little bit.
Yeah, and I could unpack every Disney movie.
I know you've talked about that.
I
wanting to
literally
do a Disney
could
episode.
write. I feel like it would be a really cool talk show for me, just by myself unpacking Disney movies. You know, what has a Bible quote in it? You know which movie?
Jungle Book.
Yeah, the original. They took it out of the remake.
No greater love than this to lay down your life for your friends. Yes, John 15.
When Bagheera says that about Baloo in the rain, but then Baloo wakes up and it annoyed Bagheera because he doesn't like Baloo anyway. Anyway,
I digress.
So, are you ready for mine, or you got anything
ready.
more with Lion King? I love the Lion King. That was good.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good job.
Cheers.
Okay, so I have spoken to you about this before, and I think maybe it's because I saw this movie when I was teaching a unit on inherent dignity. So my brain was looking for ways to teach inherent dignity, I think. So that's where this came from. But The Greatest Showman.
Oh, I love that movie.
So it's interesting because it kind of like starts out with P.T. Barnum exploiting these unique individuals. You know, so because if you haven't seen Greatest Showman, it's
with Hugh Jackman.
It's with Hugh Jackman. It's a musical. It's about P.T. Barnum, and it's you know, kind of like all these people with these extraordinary things, or
like the freak show,
like a freak. Yeah, right.
Like
but he wasn't like, you have value and worth. Come join my show. It's people are going to be freaked out by looking at you. Let me exploit you. Right. That's kind of how it starts. And so as the story unfolds, the people, he starts to see their value and their worth as individuals, and how they are people, like, and that they have value and worth and should be seen, and should be valued. And I think that it's a beautiful, I mean, they even go into that interracial, you know, lines too, because the what's her name's character, Zedediah's character is African American or some kind of a mix, and then she falls in love with Zac Efron. Like they're together, and it's like a forbidden because of the time, you know. So it goes into that part of that inherent dignity. But just talking about these different characters, they're marginalized. They are celebrated for their uniqueness, but exploited by that uniqueness. And eventually, though, the moral of that story is that they should be, that uniqueness makes them who they are, and they should embrace it. And that is how God made them, you know, because they do have unique things to them. So it celebrates that everyone possesses that inherent dignity, is created in God's image, and that we should not exploit anyone. We should see them as their, you know, their value and their worth in God's eyes. And I think that he needed to have that exploitation of them in the story, you know, in order to show the contrast when he finds that value of them.
Sees the light.
Mm-hmm. Right. And starts to really genuinely care and respect them. And I think that is all about, that's justice. That's a true social justice as well. So I think that finding that inherent dignity, when you watch the movie, you really do. And again, I think it was, maybe that was my mindset because I was in the unit. I know I was because I remember walking away going, what a perfect movie about inherent dignity. This would be such a great movie once it comes to, you know, that I could stream and talk about, have it unpacked.
So great,
and the soundtrack is so good, and it's so well done. It's so well done.
Well, you forgot how the movie actually starts, though.
So it's him and his dreams,
yes,
right?
That's a big part of the whole thing. And
I'm looking at it.
God puts those dreams in. Like, he didn't I'm going to come up with a way to make a bunch of money. Like, he started dreaming, and he was a performer, and he started to go through these things, but he he chased his dreams, and everyone
Right.
told him no, and he never gave up. I love that whole part of the whole story.
And he still found a way to chase his dreams without leaving anyone in his dust, which is what he first
Except for
at
his-
the beginning
except
doing.
for his wife.
At the beginning he was doing. No, I'm saying like those are the mistakes he made in pursuance of his dreams, was steamrolling people and exploiting them or neglecting relationships. But he does learn from that.
Yes.
And then that's again a true testimony to the right way to follow God's path for us and the right way to care for the people that he puts in our lives.
Yeah. And, it's the whole idea of, diversity, which is a good.
Yeah.
But if
that each one of those characters, they're diverse, whether it's a talent they had or a way God made them, or
small stature,
that's what
made
them successful. If they were all the same, it wouldn't be a good show.
The point I was trying to make was that the diversity, if it's only about how different they are, and if they never come together as a circus, as like a group together, like diversity only goes so far. Like that's where we get it wrong, where it's just like, we're just going to talk about how different we are.
Yeah.
But God, he wants us to be one. So even within our differences, that we have a commonality, whether that's in our country, out of many, one, like everybody come bring something different, but we also have to see and have that glue that connects us, because
that is a shift. That actually is a shift in the movie as well.
Yes.
Once they finally do have those that unite behind that common idea. It's
like the Tower of Babel.
Goal.
You see what happens when they don't speak the language, everything falls apart. And then we see at Pentecost, which just falls that everyone starts speaking the same language. They're all different. They're from Cretians and Arabs and Egyptians. But next thing you know, they're all for the same mission, which is the birth of the church, to go out and to do those things. Speaking of, did you see any of the new Apple updates that are coming? Today they had a thing. So one of the things,
anytime an Apple update happens,
but they're usually,
I have to get a new phone.
There's usually not a whole lot, but the one thing that I saw is cool, that they're going to have live translations on Apple. So like talk about Tower of Babel and hearing everyone's voice and be able to hear it in real time. Babel is like an app that's going to be through like an AI. Like people can talk to you in real life. We can really communicate in real time.
Wow.
So that was one of the updates.
That is cool.
So anything else on The Greatest Showman? The soundtrack is great. And then they're actually a whole album of people doing all the signs that they're like famous people, like Pink.
Or either artists or bands covering the songs from. No, I mean, I think we said it, that inherent dignity, value, and worth of everyone, that we're all created in God's image. The celebration of diversity, meaning that the circus is a place where differences are actually embraced, and it illuminates that whole idea of us being that body of Christ with all of our different and unique gifts and talents, but coming together for a common purpose. We're not coming together for a common purpose as that body. We are just a bunch of different people doing different things, right? And then I personally, it's one of the most powerful moments, I think, in that movie, is the shifts from exploitation to a general care, to a seeing of their value and their worth. And that is when the differences and the unique gifts and talents are really illuminated and come together under a common goal. Like when you are just looking at people for their differences alone, you are not seeing their value and their worth. We're valued and worth when we're coming together for that common purpose, being in God's image and his body.
All right. My number 2 is one of my favorite movies. I remember when I seen this at the show in 1999.
Okay. One of your favorite movies, The Big Lebowski? Are you going to make The Big Lebowski a Catholic teaching?
I am not.
Oh, okay.
No, that I saw that for the first time in college. That was like maybe, that was maybe 99 as well. Yeah. My freshman year of college.
Okay.
In the dorms, I remember, a guy, Bill Lahotsky, showed me that movie. I was like, what is
Showed
this?
You The Big Lebowski.
Well, the first time I saw it, I didn't think it was funny at all. I was like, what is this?
Which is so funny because it's your favorite movie.
Well, it's one of my favorite comedies.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say my favorite movies.
Okay.
This one is definitely top 5 of my favorite movies.
Okay, so hold on. Fight Club?
That's like top 5 as well.
Okay.
So that
I don't know why I want to guess this so bad. Well, one more guess. 1999. One of your favorites. It's not Fight Club or Big Lebowski. All right, go ahead.
The Matrix.
Oh, I didn't know the Matrix was in your top 5.
Oh, I love the Matrix. I love actually the 2 and 3 get a really bad rap, but they're necessary to the story. But part 1 was so groundbreaking in the way that it was filmed. The Wachowski brothers.
I have not seen it all the way through.
OMG. Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right. Well,
I'm pretty sure one of my movies you've never seen too, so we can. But I know the premise of the Matrix.
This movie, because I've seen the person who wrote this one, and I'm going to give you a little bonus because there's another movie that's attached to it, but I'm going to leave that hanging because it's crazy because it's the same author who wrote it, and she has said that this is what it's about. So when we talk about the movie's a lot of popular culture in the movie The Matrix. So it's starring Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne, and we see the story. It starts, this guy's working in a cubicle, and Morpheus, who's the Lawrence Fishburne character, comes and gives him this option, letting him know that there's more to this world, kind of like a Neoplatonist kind of a world, like we're living in the shadows in the caves, where we're looking at the shadows on the caves. So he offers
life isn't reality. Reality is somewhere else.
He's offering him the blue pill or the red pill. The red pill is that he gets pulled from the Matrix. He gets to see the world the way that it really is.
Mm-hmm. And it's just a bunch of computers, right, or something?
Yeah, it's like basically like these robots that are controlling everything. And there's this thing, but so.
I just guess anytime I sat down to try to watch it, I'd be like, what is this?
You got to pay attention.
I have to make, okay.
So, and Keanu's character's name is Neo, which is the one. And he is like the Jesus. He's like the Christ figure. He's the savior. He's the one. And the Morpheus character goes before him to kind of train him. He's kind of like the John the Baptist character who's preparing the way, who ends up training him and showing him. He's the one who's going out and getting disciples before he's been looking for him, waiting for him in this whole thing. So we see through the story that he does get, he takes the red pill and he's going through, all this training to fight these Mr. Smith characters, these, the guys with the sunglasses. And then there's a character, the woman, who he's kind of the love interest. Her name is Trinity. She's kind of like the Holy Spirit or like the church. It's kind of weird.
I think somebody who was raised Christian wrote it.
Well, they were philosophy majors. So they're into it for sure.
Okay,
well, that was the guys who did the movies, but the lady who did it was Christian, yes. And then the whole story is going on in the first one, and he starts to see he has these skills and these things, and he's just so good at all these things, and he's just training and getting stronger and better. So then he ends up getting away from these people that no one's ever got away from, and doing these things and bending.
What's the objective?
So the objective is to destroy the machine. So kind of like sin and death. So
and
it's kind of
if you destroy the machine, what happens?
So what the moral of the story is, what they're doing is that they're taking humans and they're having them like in incubators, and they're using their bodies for energy to fuel the computers and the algorithms and all these machines. This is machine world. So it's almost kind of like a Lord of the Rings, where they got to go and destroy it, almost like the ring, and go take it.
And so when they destroy it, do the people wake up out of the pods? I do not. I did not see this.
Yeah. So like the Matrix is the world enslaved by sin, and all this stuff is going on. So these people are they're just being used as energy and food. They're just like mindless.
Yeah.
But the people, they're getting their memories through like a computer. So like it seems like it's normal, but it's really like they're just being shown that to them. But when they get pulled out, then they're actually the humans, and they have to take a while to get their bodies and to go. And so, long story, they're going through this whole thing. There's this Judas character, right? The Judas character is named Cypher. So he ends up like sabotaging the whole thing. And so, there's all these.
Wouldn't Satan be the machine?
He's a Judas, so Satan.
Oh, Judas! I'm sorry.
Judas,
yes,
no, he's his friend,
okay.
And he ends up betraying him and makes a deal with the people who are like the Pharisees, who have all the information, and they're controlling everything. And so there's a bunch of different scenes where Neo sacrifices himself, dies, he's raised again.
It's definitely Christian undertone. So this is a Christian writer. Is it kind of like another, Chronicles of Narnia type thing where you
kind of,
have.
but not so much. So what the
I was gonna ask if you were.
So the other movie that's the prequel basically to
okay.
is The Terminator.
Wait, The Terminator's the prequel to The Matrix? Because I know The Terminator, I didn't know if that was one of your movies. That's why I stopped myself. Because I do know that I've seen videos where the author of The Terminator and really speaks to the fact that it's the same author? No way.
She wrote both of them. So The Terminator obviously with
so hold on. So
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
So the robots that take over the world in The Terminator have the world under control in The Matrix.
It's the prequel to it. So then it gets way worse and way worse and way worse. It's a battle against the machines.
Why didn't they ever advertise it that way?
Sarah Connor's kind of like.
So literally The Matrix is like Terminator like 7 or something.
Yeah, but they didn't want to.
They didn't want to.
Yeah. Okay. So the Sarah Connor character she becomes like the Mary.
But she's not immaculate.
She has like she doesn't know how she got pregnant. Like that's the story.
We all saw Terminator 1. We all know how she got pregnant.
Kind of like Star Wars. It's the same thing, and how Luke Skywalker was born. She's like, I don't know. So then John Connor, his initials are JC. So the son, he's the savior that's going to come back. And to this resistance versus the machines, it's like is
Neo a relative of his?
Well, it's just part of it. I don't know exactly how it goes because I didn't see the whole thing, but I just there's a lot going on. Just to know that like you'll see.
You can find these Christian undertones, is what you're saying.
But this one is a little bit more, it's like when you really think about it. The Neo, the one, and there are a lot of conversations about, what's reality, what's true, what's real, things like that. Like like is heaven real? Like there's this whole.
And it's multi-dimensional in that movie too, isn't it? Or am I thinking of a different movie?
Multi-dimensional.
Is the Matrix like dimensions?
No, there's the enslaved world and then the real world.
Okay. So it's really just the robots took over our consciousness.
Yeah, no, they're enslaving people physically and putting them in pods and using their bodies as energy and fuel.
By enslaving their consciousness. Their consciousness is
well, they're actually using the bodies to get like energy out of the bodies.
But what is their consciousness?
They're feeding it to them.
They don't know.
They're using their bodies.
But does the person know their body's being used?
They do not.
Exactly. So what they're doing is they're enslaving their consciousness as well. They're dimming their intellect. They're not.
Yeah,
they don't know how much
they're giving them something else. Okay. They're showing them something that's totally not real. Yeah.
Wow, that's something.
Yeah. So that was.
So you got 2 movies out of that, to be honest.
Well, kind of.
Okay.
I didn't go into too depth of the Terminator, but all right, go ahead. What's yours?
Yeah, I have seen videos where she unpacks the Terminator, and you're kind of like, what? It's funny. Yeah. Okay, mine you have never seen, I don't think. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's called Now Voyager. It's from 1942. Doubt you've seen it. It's a Betty Davis movie.
I know that's your favorite movie, but
Paul Heinrich, and
you still haven't made me watch it.
I won't make you watch this. This is more. You're not going to like it. There's nothing in it that's for you. I mean,
well, tell us what's in it.
So she's basically an unwanted child from she was born very late to an older mother. So that mother kind of kept her under her thumb as her like servant almost, right? And made her mentally ill. Her name is Charlotte Vale. She's a Vale. They're like from Massachusetts. They're the Vales from Massachusetts, right? And so everyone else is much old. All of her siblings are much older than her. She's her mom's like, right? And that mother basically treated her terribly. And she became she had a nervous breakdown. Charlotte did. And so she ends up in this mental health facility with Claude Rains as her doctor. And he helps her break out of this old maid that she basically was. And she gets like this makeover. So half the movie is her with her own internal struggles and coming as this, this personal transformation. And that is such a beautiful thing for you to see as that unfolds. she has family members like her sister-in-law and her nieces that truly do care for her eventually, that want to see her, be better. But she turns into this so she steps off out of the they say, you need to go, because she's loaded, right? They're this rich family. You need to just go and explore the world without your mom. Now that you've had your nervous breakdown, got better from it, go explore the world without your mom. So it's the most famous scene out of the movie. So she's walking off because she's on a cruise, and she walks off and she's like gorgeous. Like now, she's dressed to the nines.
It's like those teenage movies where
they come, where all the girl has to do is take her glasses
off, and she's like a drop dead gorgeous. She does
wear glasses, and she doesn't wear glasses anymore at the end. But it is one of those. So on this cruise, right? She's just she doesn't even have the same name. She's just this, like, she's just experiencing the world for the first time without being underneath her mother's thumb, right? And she learned how to do that. Her therapist helped her go through that obstacle, right? And empowered her to go and do things on her own. And so while she's on this cruise, she meets this man, and there you could tell there's a connection with them. But you find out that there's a backstory, and he has a wife and children. He has a daughter that he absolutely adores. He travels. He's never really home. And he's really just in this marriage. This woman, the woman he's married to, is very similar to her mother, and how she did not want to have children, and how she treats the daughter is horrible, right? And she suffered, this mother suffers through mental illness, and he is doing the right thing by staying married to her. And she ends up, I'm not going to say the whole movie, it's a long movie. The whole movie is, part of you wants him to divorce that wife and be with her because they deserve each other. That's what our modern culture would say. I think that's why I love this movie so much, because it contradicts all of what we think it should end. We all think it should end this way. It should end where something happens to that horrible wife that's terrible to that young girl, and this girl suffers now from mental illness because of her mother's treatment to her, right? And she ends up in the same place that Betty Davis was in when she first went, and she didn't know it at first because she was there because her mom just died. It was like a thing that she went there just to get some reprieve. And she told the guy about the place. So that's how he knew to put his daughter there when she was suffering through her issues. And they meet and they connect, and she's like a 11 or 12-year-old girl. And again, the mother does not want her. She ends up, because she is very wealthy, she ends up taking her in and adopting her. But because of all of it, the morality of it, they can't be together. And it ends up being, it's not about her. It's not about her and the love with him. It's not about her. Her true calling was to be the mother figure to this girl. And that's what it ends up. I mean, you can't. Yes, it's so good because it's counterintuitive. Why can't he just divorce that lady and just marry her, and then they have the girl together, and that's what it should be. And that's what our modern culture says. But it's like, no, he's doing the right thing, and she's doing the right thing.
He's doing the right thing because he made a commitment,
and she's doing the right thing by helping the girl. And that if that were to happen, it would be worse for that little girl, right? Like, to understand, like, she's hers and she's her friend, and she's getting her through that. You have to see the movie to be like, wait, what? No, but you have to see that. That's such a true testament of sacramental love. And so that's how it ends. And she says, they make like a comment about why they can't be together. And she says, don't ask for the moon. We have the stars. That's a famous line. I don't know if you've ever heard it. Don't ask for the moon. We have the stars. Like, we have a common love for this little girl, and we're going to do what's right for her. And you kind of, in the back of your mind, are like, maybe they'll end up together still. But that's how the movie ends. But that sacrificial love, her choice to care for Tina and putting that child's needs above her romantic desires, is so sacrificial. And for a woman who could easily say, I've had a really hard life and I deserve one thing to go my way, She doesn't. She knows that what's the right thing to do. And her growth, her confidence, like all the ways that she became a better person, all those are all just ways of, you know, it's never too late. You're not defined by, you know, your actions. There's always fresh starts. And then, you know, obviously the value of self-giving. Her story is just showing how she found herself when she gave herself away. Once she gave herself to something bigger than herself, and that's a line from Casablanca too, that the you know, the problems of one, you know, the problems of two people doesn't add up to a hill of beans in this crazy world, meaning like we have to stop just having it be about our problems. When we give of ourselves is when we find true, like that is when she was finally fully alive and happy. And you just see her transformation as a person from this miserable person that would just lock herself away in her room to the person that she becomes flourishing because of her sacrificial love for this little girl. It's very cool. It's a very good movie. Again, you didn't like it. It's too chick flicky for you, I think. But so many different
Well, a lot of the
pieces
movies they
of
made
it.
in the 40s and 50s are more
Moralistic. It's going to
Moralistic,
have
yeah.
the morality of it's not your life isn't about you. It's about others, and that you find true happiness when you give yourself away. You are going to find that in more movies from the 1930s and 40s. Now you find more do what's right for you, you know, but that isn't what's causing, that isn't the road to happiness. And we're seeing that because you do you, and your life's all about you, and do what is right for you is what everybody's doing right now. And what's our happiness rates? What's our, you know, what's our suicide rates right now?
Well,
what is the life what's life?
Well, negative emotion, there's no difference of thinking about yourself in negative emotion. Like literally.
Yeah.
You know, I love the line from Blessed Carlo Acutis who says that, you know, it's looking towards God is joy. Looking inwards is not. It's just that easy is just moving your eyes. Move your eyes to God and move them away from looking at yourself constantly, looking in, navel gazing, always looking, well, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do this? Should I do? Like always asking the wrong questions and thinking about yourself constantly. We know that, especially as parents, is that as hard as it is to raise kids and how sometimes, you know, we want to always do things for them, but there's that balance. But as soon as I start to think about, well, what about me? It's like, I'm not happy. It's like, I can really turn in on myself a lot of times because it's like, I want to relax. I want to do this. And the kids are, hey, do this. Like, I just want to relax. But then as soon as I, you know, do the thing, it's like, okay, all right. Yeah. And it's like the joy comes like on Christmas, you know, it's like, it's better to give than to receive.
You know, I think it's like we are, I don't want to say we're naturally inclined to, you know, there's just this intuition of self-preservation.
Yeah, it's biological.
And so you do have to always fight it. And in this movie, she is very self-focused when she is under her mother's rule, and when she has a nervous breakdown, and it's very pity party. Woe is me. You don't understand what I'm going through and how horrible my life is. My life. I'm terrible. I hate my life, you know, and that doctor snapped her out of it, like, but in a kind and charitable way, and met her where she was at. So he really is this figure that is consistently exactly what she needs. Like God is putting him where he needs to be, this therapist, because he doesn't let her self-pity, you know, he doesn't let her wallow in it. He accompanies her into seeing that she's got to go through that obstacle. And in going through these things, now I want you to try to do this on your own. Now I want you to try. Now, so she finally ends up to the true happiness, which is a total gift of self and sacrificial love. And that's where you see her, this character that goes from this self-centered, inward pity party person into this total gift of self person that's just beaming with joy by the end of the movie. And as she's telling the man she loves she can't be with him, like that, right? And how, so again,
Counterintuitive.
counterintuitive. So it's,
And that's how it works.
that's
God
why it's
works,
one of my favorite movies.
and not always in a logical way. What we think that
typical.
when we get, I'm going to be happy. And we know that it's like, no, that doesn't work that way. It's when we give is when we feel that true joy. Here's an easy example from yesterday, right? This works good for all kinds of things. So Braden was riding his bike and he went too fast. He got a new bike, went too fast and turned the corner, turned the handlebars too much, hit himself in the groin, fell down. Next thing you know, he's hysterically crying. I walk over there and right away I took his mind off of him thinking about himself and his leg, his groin, and started asking him a bunch of questions, thinking about other things. And immediately he stops crying because he's not even thinking about the pain. He's not thinking about it. When we think about it, it's not going to get better. It's like as soon as we take our mind off of it and focus on other things, think about the other things, it was like instantly.
So you didn't hug him?
I did not.
I would have hugged him. And then I would have started talking about other things.
No, I
Right,
didn't hug him. I picked him up.
Okay, well that's good. You helped him up.
You
helped him up.
Well, I was holding the bike and picking him up one arm. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Moving on.
Moving on. What's your third movie?
Third one is also one of my favorite movies, also from the 90s.
Oh my gosh.
1995. This is definitely top 5 movie all time by far.
I can't.
And it won all the awards to prove it.
Braveheart?
Yes. Ding,
Okay.
ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding. I feel like we've talked about Braveheart on the show before. No?
Maybe. I mean, the character William Wallace was a Catholic. He was a real person. They don't know a lot about him. If you're interested in the story Braveheart, the guy who actually wrote the story, he's been all over the podcast circuit. He wrote Braveheart. He also helped write Passion of the Christ. He's actually helping Mel Gibson write The Resurrection of the Christ. And his name is Wallace. His name is Randall Wallace. And he was in Scotland and he was in a castle and he saw the statue that said William Wallace, and he talked to one of the curators of this castle. And he said, "What's the story on William Wallace?" He said, "There's a lot of legends, but a lot of people just don't really know." And so his imagination just started going on. Like a lot of it is kind of taken they don't know a whole lot about the story. They know a lot more about like Robert the Bruce and like the Longshanks. He was a king. They knew they knew that he was a warrior. Like they just don't know a lot about him. But
so it's like historical fiction. He took the realities of the time and he wrote it around this character.
A lot of the stuff, but the battles and where the Bannockburn and all these different battles and stuff that take place actually happened. But Mel Gibson's character is kind of like a Christ-like character. He's this, it starts off, he's just an unassuming guy. And next thing you know, they kill his wife because the king wanted, there was a law of, before they would get married, the king would get to sleep with your wife. And he didn't want to do that. Yeah. And then, so they killed her in front of him. So then this is like this love story of like a revenge kind of a story, but it was because they were, oppressing the people in Scotland and they wanted to be free. And we see all these awesome battles and all these scenes. And William Wallace, he becomes kind of like this, this kind of Christ-like figure, not per se. He's obviously a warrior and a killer and things like that. So
wanted revenge.
So when we go through these stories, it's not everything about
it's Christ. Not going to be perfect,
and that's the way it is. But there's some things that you can take, and Robert the Bruce is kind of like a Peter character. Longshanks is the king. He's a really bad guy. He's real, almost satanic. But one of the scenes that everybody knows is, they could take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom. Everybody knows that.
That's free will.
And then at the very end, when he's getting killed, there's a scene where the princess, he starts to cultivate this relationship with the princess, and she offers to give him like gall, like from the cross, to numb what he was about to go through. He gets drawn and quartered, which is a horrible way to die, but he denies it. Just like Jesus was on the cross, he offers him the hyssop branch so that he can be dulled, but he doesn't do it. And so he does the same thing. And as he's being killed, he screams freedom. And, but, throughout the movie, he's got a cross kind of painted on his face in the blue war paint. We know that. But then in the story, Peter is kind of, like I said, the Robert the Bruce character, because he kind of backstabs him. He denies him because he was more worried about saving himself, and he didn't make the deals to get the other clans and the other tribes together, the
I'm
noblemen.
gonna watch Braveheart again. It's been a really long
Oh,
time.
it's so good.
I know.
Every time it's on, I watch it. But he, you know, he betrayed him. He betrayed his friend to save his own self, in the same way that, you know, every time we sin, we deny Jesus. And so there's all kinds of things like that where you can see
Those parallels.
there's different parallels. The main takeaway is that true freedom isn't political or temporary. It's spiritual and eternal, and it's bought at the cost of blood, you know. But we see
who was it that said that he was in the concentration camp, and that is the one thing that he said, you know, that's the one thing they can't take away.
Viktor Frankl.
Yeah, Viktor Frankl.
Man's search for meaning.
Yeah, what was the exact quote? You probably know the quote better than I do.
The quote was that our true power comes not from, it's that space in between the reaction and the response. So like when something happens to us, the space in between to where we get that space, that's the stimulus. Something.
It's not about what happens to you; it's how you handle it, right?
Yeah, basically.
So your freedom is still, you could be in prison and you still have a free will of how you will react to that. Right. Yeah.
That you have a choice, even in a bad situation, you know, and you're in prison.
Of how you will handle that.
You know, that's the opposite of the story that, you know, you made me mad. No, this thing happened, then you have a choice on how to react to it.
Right.
All right. What's your last one?
This one's fun.
This one's funny.
I'm serious.
This one's a stretch.
I saw this in the theaters and I couldn't help but see all the Christian undertones in it. I don't know what's wrong with me. But Dogman.
Dogman, like the movie about Braden?
Yeah, like
I think it's on. I think it's actually now on Peacock, or there's a show. It's where you can watch it.
There's like some heavy, like, well, first of all,
Dogman's like
I laughed.
God-man.
No. Oh, you know what? I never even thought of that. No.
Is Dogman a Christ-like figure?
No, I don't did the parallels. I'm more like the morality, social teaching lens.
Got it.
On when you're looking for the allegorical.
Exactly.
I'm looking for the moral.
Got it.
This is we force sense analyzed this. So Dogman's based off of the books that are like graphic novels.
They're very popular.
They're very popular. Kids. Everybody wants to read them. But I'm sitting here watching this movie and I really thought I was going to dread it. I'm like, but again, sacrificial love. Take your kid to a movie that you think is going to be terrible. I laughed out loud at this movie, by the way. I literally laughed out loud. It was funny. But so yes, he is part dog and part man because of an accident. There was an accident. And the whole premise is ridiculous. But I'm telling you, it is so ridiculous and silly, but it goes deep and explores true love, forgiveness. It's crazy. I'm sitting here watching this going, are you for real right now? Like some of the things that it unpacks, the impacts of your choices. So yeah, it's Dogman. He's half dog, half man, police officer. He's a police officer, by the way. So, and then the bad guy is Pete the cat. And Pete the cat makes a clone on accident. He makes these clones, but they end up being a kid. So he has to wait 18 years for it to become his clone. So it's a Petey. So Petey, no matter how horrible Pete is, Petey is super sweet. So it's kind of like, so eventually Pete the cat and Pete the cat and little Petey, like, okay, so the little one is kind of asking all these very innocent questions to why he's so evil, right? So it starts to unpack like his issues with his father and like, so all these things, something happens to the little Petey and so Dogman and the villain, the super villain, have to team up because they both care about the little guy. Right. And so it has a lesson of forgiveness. It has a lesson of true love. Sacrificial love is in this movie. because again, the bad guy is willing to sacrifice himself for the little Petey because he is innocence and he questions why things are the way they are, and he makes these adults that are fighting be like, yeah, like seeing the world through the eyes of a child, the faith of a child. But it's just, he draws them together. It's unlikely friendships that form, forgiveness that happens. There's so many Christian undertones in this story. I literally left going to, I just draw Catholic conclusions from Dogman and liked it and thought it was funny and it taught lessons. So I'm like talking to the kids about it. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So Dogman does repeatedly forgive his adversaries. There's friendship and community that they come together. And really what's most important is this idea of redemption and change. And no matter how bad the villain is, he has a chance to do the right thing and be forgiven. And that is a huge part of that story. And even when you find his father and his father figure comes in, the one that made him the way he is, it's still, even little Petey loves that grandpa, even how horrible he is, and it's just that true love and not giving up on people, forgiveness, choice. The film highlights how one's actions and choices can have lasting consequences with the father figure, but it also explores that possibility of forgiveness, redemption, even in irreconcilable situations.
So Dogman.
I believe it or not, yes,
it's on streaming. So one of the things that we have.
I'm telling you.
So I don't think Braden
out loud.
I don't think Braden knows yet. So we'll have to let him know.
It's funny, and you could teach.
I remember something.
So
Braden said
Catholic
something about it. Something about his butt or something.
There's so many funny parts of it. I don't remember the butt. Maybe
he said something.
It's yeah. It is so funny. It is so funny. I laughed out loud. I couldn't believe how much I was liking that movie, but. Christian undertones for sure, and ways to and especially a movie like that,
especially kids'
take your kids
movies.
to see it and unpack it and talk about forgiveness and love, what true love is, and sacrificial love. And
there's so many of those.
There's so many things that you can unpack with kids of the movies that we know and love. Like you unpacked The Lion King. Like these are conversations you could talk Pinocchio and you could talk stranger danger so easy with Pinocchio. So just having these conversations and not thinking that our faith needs to be compartmentalized, that we only talk about the Bible that way, or Bible stories
at church.
We only talk about that stuff on Sundays, or we only have these conversations when we're talking about faith stuff or faith movies. You could literally take apart any movie and find some nugget in there to pull out the truth that's there. It's there because it has to be there. If it's a good story, it has to have an element of truth, and truth comes from God.
Amen. So. There's usually obviously beauty, and there's goodness.
Yep.
So all three transcend.
The good, the true, and the beautiful are in most things. We just have to look for it. And it doesn't mean that we need to be exposed to everything that's out there, because yes, bad ideologies are definitely seeping in through these forms of media. But even in the seep in, we can find
but we can find those and point them out to that. Hey, that's wrong. That's contradictory.
Right.
Yes.
Right. We still have the conversations.
Amen. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this 3-part series. If this is the first one you're hearing, go back and listen to the one on music and on television, where we go through the same thing.
I'm curious as to other people, how they can take some of these and
if you're watching or listening on YouTube, go into the comments, tell us some ones that maybe you see Christian themes to, or the Bible, or what you thought about it. Was this helpful? Did this help you at all? We want to hear your feedback. If you're liking this channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. That really helps us kind of get out there. And this week we just hit 100,000 subscribers on Instagram. So thank you guys for all the support. If you're on the podcast or on YouTube, we do really appreciate it. We're enjoying. You have been a lot more cheery to come down and do podcasts with me. So I want to give you a 1-minute praise.
I don't know what that means.
This is a 1-minute praise, Katie. Just take it. That when you
This is the stuff I like, though. I geek out over.
When you come downstairs and do the podcast, and it's just like happy, joy, and there's no conversations about all the other things that you have to do, and we just sit down and just have fun
I don't
talking.
think this needs to be publicly broadcasted.
Well, I'm giving examples about what a 1 minute praise, 1 minute
yeah, but
reprimand.
in it you throw shade, so you might want to try to not.
I'm
do
not
it that
throwing
way.
shade. I'm being.
When you don't do these things.
I'm being honest. It's been very pleasant this series. I found something that you were really into. That was your idea.
I really like it.
So I wanted to just give you kudos.
Thank you.
And I love you.
Thanks.
So appreciate it. Let's end with a prayer in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Glory be to the Father and to the Son and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen.